Welcome to another edition of the Music Dreams USA Radio Artist Spotlight Show, which is being brought to you this evening and every Wednesday from 6:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern by Blue Shamrock Music. And a special thank you to Mr. Stephen Brady. He is our man. Every week he gives us some amazing artists, and tonight we are certainly not going to disappoint. In just a moment here, we're going to be introducing Kevin McConnell. He is an amazing artist, and we'll find out about his story and what's he been up to, and we'll find out about his music and all that good stuff. So in just a moment here, we'll go live and meet with Mr. Kevin McConnell, and we'll find out what he's up to. And again, don't forget to check out the Russell K. Alexa and Shauna Brown Morning Show. You can find our show on musicdreamsusa.com, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern, and you'll be able to check out our morning show. On tomorrow's morning show, we're actually going to be playing a song by Kevin McConnell, and we'll play one of his songs, and it'll be a really cool song, and we're going to use that song to open up our show. It's Kevin Sullivan's in the house, so yep, Kevin Sullivan is in the house, so. And we look forward to meeting him and as I mentioned, all he's doing. Also, don't forget, on October 9th, we are having a huge party at the Hard Rock Cafe in Niagara Falls, New York. And if you want to go, tickets are on sale right now. Only $12. Only $12 to go check out the show.
Very cheap.
We'll ask Kevin Sullivan about that and see what he thinks about the $12 tickets. And so we'll find out more about that. And we are your home for the best mix of the 70s, 80s, 90s, and country. And now, with all that being said, let's go live and meet our special guest, Mr. Kevin Sullivan. Kevin, how are you, my friend?
Hello, Russell. How are you? I was listening with this Kevin McConnell. I thought there was someone else joining us. I'm thinking, who the hell is Kevin McConnell? I
did that purposely. Just make sure you were with
do
us.
Some McConnell set building when I came on. You had me a bit nervous, but anyway, it's great to be. Thanks for having me on, my friend. How are you over there?
We are doing great here up in the States, and I did that purposely. I just want to make sure you're still with us and keep you on your toes.
I was paying attention, my friend. Don't you worry about that.
I got a cheat sheet, by the way. You know, I have a cheat sheet of all the stuff I look at. So, how you been, sir? How you doing?
Look, we've been good. We do. I travel with my children. So we're a family band. So it's Kevin Sullivan and the Sullivans, and we travel all around Australia playing music. And I've toured with bands over the years, and to tour with children, it's a little different. It's a little different dynamic. It's a lot of fun, of course. But we just did 10 shows. We did a bit of a residency in the heart of Australia, in the red dirt, sort of up near Uluru, and where most people in the world think of Australia, they think of kangaroos and red dirt. Well, that's where we were, in the middle of Australia, and we were there for 10 days at a roadhouse called the Three Ways Roadhouse. Incidentally, it's Three Ways is also the name of my new album, which I've also released on vinyl. What about that? Have you ever heard of vinyl, Russell?
Oh, my goodness. It's been a while since I've seen vinyl, but hey, let me see that again.
There it is there. And that's
I love it. Oh, my God. That is so cool.
So that's about 20 meters from the roadhouse in the middle of Australia where we were playing. It's called the Three Ways Roadhouse. It's in near a place called Tennant Creek in the Northern Territory. And you can see this intersection. I named the album Three Ways because, I was a former forensic crime scene policeman. So I did major crime for about, 27 years. Although it's hard to tell with this long hair, but I had short back and sides, and I was a police forensic crime scene officer for many, many years. And this intersection with the crossroads is very synonymous with the journey, my journey in life and my musical journey. So we toured there during COVID. We're sponsored by a big, amazing Australian caravan company, like an RV company called Sunland Off-Road Caravans. And we lived in the caravan, my wife, Belinda, and our 3 youngest children, KJ, Cha-Cha, and Jet, that you're going to meet in a minute. And we lived in that caravan for 2 years during COVID, and we traveled all the way around Australia, which is a big place. And we did 170,000 kilometers and over 250 shows. It was crazy, but it was fantastic. Yeah.
Hey, are you guys looking for a roadie?
We have room for one more person, Russell. I always tell people, though, you have to sign this thing that says what happens on the road stays on the road. Are you happy to sign that, my friend, or not?
Where's the pen?
Yeah, okay. We'll pack a bag, Russell. Pack a bag.
I love it. Especially if this show doesn't go good tonight, I might be reaching out for a job.
Well, your show is an amazing show, and some of the artists you get on and the interviews that you do are fantastic. And we feel very humbled, sir, that you have us, the Sully Vans from Kevin Sullivan, the Sully Vans from Australia, on board. So thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate it.
Oh, no. So you've actually checked out our show. You checked out my interviews.
We've seen your show. We like to do a bit of research, and we like what you do. You have a really happy, positive vibe. So we really like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was raised by a single mom. You know what she told me? What you see is what you get. You ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah. You know what? Your mum was right. And actually, on my new album, Three Ways, sadly, my mum passed away about 5-6 years back. I'm one of 6 children. And like all, most mums in the world, they really are the glue that hold all the families together. And my mum was just like that. And when she passed away, we loved her so much. A couple of my sisters really struggled. And so I wrote a song. Her name was Diane. I wrote a song called Diane. And it's about the loss of loved ones and how, sometimes you just feel like you can't move on. And it's a really personal song, Russell. And when I released it as a single, I said to my wife, Belinda, I don't know how this song's going to go. It's a song about my mum, and, we loved her, and, it's a song about loss. The funny thing was that universal loss, everyone connects it. And I probably had more comments around the world from that song, Diane, about mum and about loss and about moving on and how she was integral. And people related to their mum or their dad or their loved one. And so it sort of surprised me, the reaction I got. So, and our children sing on it. My son, KJ, he's 14. He was the sort of apple of mum's eye, and he sings a solo on it. And it's just it's very emotional. And sometimes it's hard to sing it on stage, but we get through it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Let's talk about your interesting background. I mean, before you got to music, kind of like talk to our listeners about that. You had such a really, really cool background. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So I was a member of, so we have 6 states here in Australia, and I was a member of the New South Wales State Police, which is probably the biggest police force in Australia. And sadly, it's probably the busiest too. So I was a uniformed police officer, and then I specialised and became a forensic crime scene detective, and I just did major crimes, so murders and just really major stuff. I was also trained as a police bomb technician, so I had to work with explosives. And for the Sydney 2000 Olympics, I actually ran all the bomb techs for both the police, and I liaised with the military explosive ordnance officers. And look, I also worked in witness protection, but my forensic police background, it was pretty full on. I did develop post-traumatic stress from it. I ended up breaking my arm, my right humerus, the bone between your elbow and your shoulder. I had an injury coming home from work, and I was off work, and then PTSD developed. And look, I loved my job. I loved the police. Even though the forensic work was very confronting, and people say, is it like CSI? And I say, look, not really. You didn't get to solve things in about half an hour. It was a lot of painstaking, examinations, and a lot of trauma, a lot of sadness. But it was a very interesting job. Like you're trying to find that bullet or that paint flake or that fiber. So, in terms of policing and exciting, interesting jobs, it really had it all. And I worked on some major, major jobs. But music was always my passion, Russell. So it was sort of my outlet. And like I said, I developed PTSD. And like a lot of post-traumatic stress sufferers, I too was in denial for a long time. People sort of said, "I think you're getting PTSD." No, I'm not. No, I'm not. And look, it was coming. I basically lived, in the morgue, and I walked through rivers of blood. I'm actually currently writing an autobiography with a best-selling author out here from my transition to forensic police crime scene detective to a full-time singer-songwriter. So we're sort of 3/4 through an autobiography that I'm writing. And look, it was a really exciting life. There's a few songs I've written over the years about it. I wrote a song called Unknown People, which is not on this album, it's on my previous album, Belonging. And Unknown People, and I shot a music video. It's about people like first responders. It's like doctors, nurses, or anyone who experiences trauma. You're not related to the victim, and yet it really affects you. You become that unknown people. So, and a lot of people, related to that song as well. So, but this new album, Three Ways, it continues that musical journey from those forensic police days, and it moves towards more of my musical stage of my life. And I have the very first song on the album is a song called Journey. And I remember working in the outback of New South Wales, a remote place, when I was in uniform, when I first joined the police. And it was lonely. I was only about 20. I was living in the outback, and I used to drive home to see my mum and dad. It was like a 9-10 hour trip, and I'd have to avoid the kangaroos and all the wildlife. And I would drive out of this town, and I would turn on my radio. I had this really old sort of pickup truck type vehicle, and I had a dog. And it's a dog it's a blue cattle dog. It's sort of got a marbly blue color. And I had this blue cattle dog. Her name was Mary, and Mary would be in the back of my truck, and we'd be driving home to see my mum and dad. And it was such a remote place. And I would dream of becoming a full-time musician. I would turn the radio on and turn on Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, and I would listen to Thunder Road as we headed for home. And I would drive through the night. I'd be tired. I'd be avoiding kangaroos and wildlife. And that song Journey, this first song Journey on my album Three Ways, there's the vinyl again, there's the CD. That song Journey is about those days. It's about never giving up on your dream, on your passion. And I always say, and people quote me a lot, it's never too late to chase your dream. And
so true.
Sometimes life makes you come a different path, and I've had to do a big long journey to get to music. But I'm so glad I'm here, Russell, and I'm enjoying every second of it. And what makes it better is I perform I've got 5 children. I've got 2 daughters, 31, 32, and then I've got 3 young children that we call the Sullivans. My surname's Sullivan, and they're KJ, he's 14. Cha-Cha, she's 12, and Jet, our little guy, is 8. And they harmonise. They've been in the studio. They're on this record. They're at the shows. And we give a different sort of dimension to our shows. There's not many family-type bands, in the world, really. There's a few here or there. But in Australia, we used to have a couple. And we're bringing that family band show back. And people love it. They really love our shows, and all the children sing. They all have to do something on stage where they're singing or playing an instrument or harmonizing. And it's the best. These are the best years of my life. They really are, and I'm loving it.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, thank you for sharing your amazing story. But I want to go back to when you were in the in the police department and doing all that stuff, right? What made you make that switch from obviously doing something you actually love to do, but you actually transitioned and do something you even love more, which was music. Kind of like walk us through how that took place.
We've got a lot of faith, Russell. We have a lot of faith, and so we honestly believe that we're in God's hands. Sometimes I wish God's timing, and there's no respect to God. Sometimes I wish God's timing and my timing were a bit more aligned, but we'll go with that. He's in charge. So, look, I played music and I toured on my vacation time, on my days off, on weekends. I would tour with bands, and I did that for like 18, 20 years. But when you do a job like the police, and I was a forensic policeman, and I'd studied applied science while I was doing murders. I was doing assignments and research projects. It was crazy. I don't know how I did it. I probably would have never have left, Russell. It's a good question you asked me. A lot of people said to me, like, you're a great policeman. Don't take this the wrong way, but you're an entertainer. You're a musician. Like, why aren't you playing music? And you know what? Life, mortgage, children, work commitments all got in the way. And you know, you and your listeners will be able to relate to this. That, you know, sometimes you think, I really want to do this, but I've got all this other stuff that's in the way. So I was institutionalized as well, because I also thought as a policeman, I can't do anything else. Yet when you do a job that's as diverse as a police officer, and also as a forensic police officer, and the many jobs I did, you really can do anything. What it took was that accident. I was going home. I would never have left, Russell. I would never have left. And my wife, Belinda, she says a funny thing, which I talk about a lot on stage. I said, my wife, Belinda, talks about the day I came off my push bike coming home from work at the police, and I broke my arm. I smashed my right arm in 7 places. They had to put a 30-centimeter titanium nail through my arm. And in the police, you know, I never took many sick days. I think in 27 years, I had like 6 sick days, like 6. That's all. Because I was always taught, you know, you should go to work, and if you don't go to work, someone's got to cover your shift. And I think, sadly, you know, that sort of changed, you know. But anyway, so I never took many days off. So I broke my arm, and the operation, they made a mistake with the operation with the pin, and I ended up being off work for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
I was off work. The PTSD came in, and I really struggled. And I will say, anyone suffering from mental health, there's so many avenues where you can get help. And I was in denial, but eventually, you know, I admitted that I had post-traumatic stress, and I've worked over the years to manage it. And I would encourage anyone who has mental health like me to work at it. And I'm better for it. And you know, I still have a few triggers here and there because I saw so many terrible things. But I've worked at PTSD. But I was off work, and my wife said to me, she said, I think God threw you off that push bike that day because you are like many males. You're very, very stubborn. You don't listen, and you weren't listening to God because you should have been a musician. She said, you were a great policeman, but you're a better entertainer. So I think that was the catalyst. I was off work for 2 years with my accident, and you know, the PTSD came in, and one day I remember saying to my wife, because I was in a rush to go back to work, and all my friends were saying, what are you doing? What are you rushing back? Just slow down. Like, you're a musician. Why don't you do music? I've gone, no, I'm a policeman. And I then came to a realization, partly because of my PTSD, I thought, I've actually had enough. I've seen more death than anyone needs to see. And I just had enough, Russell. And so do I think God threw me off that push bike? Well, I don't know. But I think maybe he did give me a gentle nudge because this is where I should be, Russell. This is what I should be doing. And, our album, Three Ways, there it is on CD. Our
Hey,
new
can we get
album,
a free copy of that? Hey, I need you to send me some stuff. I need you to send me some stuff to the station. We'll use it as prize giveaways.
I'm going to send you whatever you need, my friend. You just let me know. And so my new album, Three Ways, it's currently sort of the biggest charts in Australia are what's called the ARIA, ARIA, the Australian Record Industry Association, so the Australian Recording Industry. And my album, Three Ways, for the last 2 weeks has been number one on the Australian chart.
Right.
Yeah. So yesterday, thank you, sir. And yesterday, you guys have like morning TV shows in the States. We were on one of the biggest morning shows in Australia in Sydney. So my family and I, we were on the morning show, and the hosts interviewed us. They showed a heap of clips from my music videos and the desert, the Northern Territory where we've been. So, look, I'm just so proud because on that list that we're currently number one for the second week, all these record company artists, and they're great. And I know all the artists; they're really great people, but they're all backed by record companies. And even Keith Urban, and I know you know who he is, and he sits at number one a lot. But for the last 2 weeks, we've even been on top of Keith Urban. So that's a pretty hard feat to achieve. So we just feel very humble to be even on the list. We feel very blessed to be on the list with those guys. Actually, a couple of years ago, the children and I, the Sullivans, we went on The Voice. I mean, you guys got The Voice in America. We went on The Voice Australia. It was a family version. And I talk about this at my shows too, Russell. We didn't get a chair turned, but Keith Urban was one of the judges, and we got to hug Keith Urban, and we thought it was worth it going on just to hug Keith Urban. So, and he was a great guy. He's a really humble fella, and when the camera stopped rolling, he spoke to all of us. He gave us his time. He talked about my music, and yeah, it was just a great experience. So my children and I are having this amazing adventure, Russell, and they're very confident kids without being sort of over the top show-offy kids. So, like I said, we're just having a go and seeing where God will take us. That's where we're doing.
I love hearing you say that. I love hearing you saying about, you went on The Voice and, even though you didn't get a chair turn or anything like that, but the fact that you were there, you had an opportunity to meet a legend in Keith Urban. Obviously, his music, speaks for itself. And, it almost reminds me, this past weekend, we did a live radio remote at a graduation party for another artist. His name was Everett Lee. And he's up in Nashville, and he was recording. And he was driving back, and the girl who was having the graduation party was only dreaming of having him just show up, even if it's only for 5 minutes, just to show up and to make a memory and just to be there so she could tell her friends, hey, Everett Lee was here. And sure enough, I'm doing a live remote, and who walks through the door? Everett Lee. And that story reminds me of your story where, you went the extra mile. You're probably tired, exhausted. You're getting hit by every which way but loose. And but you took the time to follow your dream, and you made a memory for someone, which in your case was the kids, and in this case it was the girl, the graduation party, who never thought he was to show up, and he drove all night from Nashville. When he walked the door, you could tell he was tired. And he walked in the door, introduced himself, and started talking to him. And he hung out with her, gave her some paraphernalia, and he walked out that door, making a memory forever. Kind of like what you're doing right now with your.
And
with
Russell,
your
you know what we find being on the road, and like I said, we do thousands and thousands of miles, touring and traveling. When I was in the police, Russell, I used to mainly, sadly, I hate to say this, I mainly dealt with, sort of the badder side of life, When we're on the road touring, doing music, 99.9% of people we meet are really cool, loving, appreciative people. So it's really been this nice sort of paradigm, that nice shift from my old life to dealing with sort of lovely people who love what we're doing. And we generally only meet nice people. I mean, every now and then we meet someone who's, having a bad day, but generally we meet nice people. And like that story with Everett Lee, like we meet people who were so appreciative of the remote places that we come to. And we were just, like I said, we were just in the desert. And our children, when we first started touring, a lot of people said to my wife, Belinda, and I, they said, "Oh, your children will have a great adventure." I said, "Oh, yeah, okay." And we schooled them on the road. They're all back in school now, but we homeschooled them and we did distance education. But you know what? We all had a great adventure. Belinda and I, we learned and we lived on top of each other in this van, and our children had a great adventure. But my wife and I, we learned so much about ourselves, about our faith, about who we are, and about what's important and about who's important. I mean, COVID was a crazy time everywhere in the world, Russell, and it was crazy out here. We left our home. We rented our home out. We took our children out of school. We didn't have any shows lined up. And people said, "What are you doing? What, you're just going to take your kids on the road?" I'd never even been in a caravan. We got this sponsorship and I towed this caravan, which was 3.5 ton, 170,000 Ks around Australia. We just had to go. And, there's a lot of negatives came out of COVID, but one positive that we found, we always try to find something positive in life, is people, I think, realized that we're not here a long time. And I know that more than probably most. And so we met thousands of people on the road checking out our back. And I've toured America. This new album, Three Ways, I recorded it both in Sydney and in Nashville. It's recorded in Sydney and Nashville. I recorded there. I've played in Nashville. And what we realized during COVID was that, we're not here a long time. And even though we've traveled the world, we love our backyard. We love Australia. And we got to see more of Australia. And a lot of people did too. So I always encourage people, for sure, get out and travel the world, but check out our own backyard first. And like this photo in the red center of Australia, how beautiful is that? That's
amazing.
That's a drone photo. A lot of people think, is it sort of Indigenous art, Aboriginal art? But it's the red dirt, and it's a photograph taken from a drone. And like I said, we've just done 10 days at a roadhouse that's like something off Route 66. You'll be able to relate to that. This roadhouse is right on the highway, just like a lot of the roadhouses on Route 66. And the trucks pull in there, the tourists pull in there, the workers pull in there. It's literally in the middle of nowhere. And, it's like those old movies, the old movie Roadhouse, where people just turn up. And every night we had a new crowd because people are traveling. They would stop, and we played there for 10 days in a row. And we had our PA and the kids, and people were walking in we've only just got back like 2 days ago from the middle of Australia. And people are walking in going like, what the jolly heck who are you people? How are you here? And we'd have a great night, and we'd get people involved in the show. We sold a lot of these albums, and that's how we're number one on the ARIA charts. But it's just been a great experience, and we're living life, Russell. We're living life.
Let's talk about that album. I mean, you've been talking a lot about the album, so share some more on your album.
Well, the song is a story of my life, of family. There's the first song, Journey, we've talked about. The title track is a song called Three Ways, which I wrote about that roadhouse, because when we were on tour in COVID, we turned up at this roadhouse. We were getting low on money. We felt a little bit down. We were questioning, what are we doing? We're dragging our children. It's in the middle of nowhere. And the owners of the roadhouse, who we'd never met, they were just so welcoming. We ended up staying there. We did 2 shows. We had other shows lined up. We did 2 shows there. They were so lovely for no other reason, just because they had a beautiful heart and soul and spirit. And they were so welcoming to us. when I came home, I was finishing the album, and I wrote the song Three Ways. My wife said, I wake up at 2 a.m. She said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I feel like I've got to write a song about the Three Ways Roadhouse." I wrote the song. People loved the song. We sang it twice every night while we're at the Roadhouse. We started the show with it and we finished. So that's Three Ways. I wrote about a year ago, like most country artists, I was singing at a festival somewhere and I saw this amazing group of dancers, line dancers, Russell, and most artists see them. So I wrote a line dancing song, and it's called The Stroll. And there's line dancing steps. I released The Stroll, I think, about November last year. And about 2 weeks later, I saw a feed come up on my socials. It was these line dancers in South Korea. And I said to my wife, Belinda, come and have a look at this YouTube. And Belinda said, "What is that?" I said, "That's about 20 line dancers in South Korea who'd picked up my song, The Stroll, my line dancing song. They'd learnt the dance steps. They were all in these beautiful costumes and all lined up in this beautiful garden in South Korea, dancing to my song, The Stroll." Is that crazy?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Off the chain.
And I said to Belinda, we have to do a tour to South Korea. There's a song I wrote. There's a big artist out here called Casey Chambers. She's also big around the world. And I did a song with her dad called High Country Snows. It's about, we've got an area where wild horses, the Brumbies, roam. And we had high country horsemen who used to muster them. And they're no longer allowed to do that, which made me a bit sad. So we wrote a song called High Country Snows. It's a duet. We filmed the music video, and I'm riding a horse through the rivers and in this high country. I don't know how to ride a horse, by the way, but the only one who knew what they were doing was the horse. But if you look at the music video on YouTube, High Country Snows, I'm riding this horse, and it's amazing footage. So there's that song. We spoke about Diane. I wrote a song called, because my dad is 94. My dad was a Dixieland jazz pianist.
Oh, wow.
That's where we get our music gene from. We did my launch on the 28th of June for Three Ways from a new album. And my dad, who's 94, I wrote a song about him called The Piano Player. It's a bit sort of Charleston. It's a bit, it's got a lot of brass. It's got trumpet and clarinet and saxophone. When you listen to it, Russell, you think, what the hell's going on here? Like, he's supposed to be a country singer, and he's got all this, because my dad was a Dixieland jazz pianist. So the song The Piano Player is a dedication to him. And at the launch, my 94-year-old dad got up and played the piano, and then we sat him on stage and we sang The Piano Player to him. My children, my young kids were holding his hand. So it was such a special moment.
That's so cool.
Beautiful moment. We've got a song called, the first song I ever wrote with my wife, Belinda. So Belinda will say she's not really musical, but she's become my muse. As I've written songs over the years, quite a few times I've said to Belinda, she is the love of my life. I said, I should put you down as a co-writer. And Belinda said, no, that's not what I'm about. But we were on tour 2 years ago, and we started to write a song called That's What It Means. And That's What It Means is about the challenges we all face in life. It's a really up-tempo song, and it starts along, some of the lyrics sort of say, like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing all this? And then there's a turnaround at the end of the song where there's a realization, okay, we get it. That's what it means. It's what we've been fighting for. And Belinda Sullivan, my wife, she co-wrote that song, That's What It Means. I think it's one of the best songs on the album. I love it dearly. There's a couple of songs that deal with the sad part of life. I had a couple of friends who passed away from cancer, and sadly, we all know someone who's either battled cancer, who's lost their battle. We've lost family and friends. I'm sure you have, and everyone in the world, sadly, is a member of that really sad club. And I wrote a song called Get Your Affairs in Order, because I had a really dear friend who fought cancer, and I thought she was going to beat it. Her name was Leanne. And at the end, it got her and she passed away. And I spoke to her husband, who's a friend of mine, and he said right at the end, the doctor called them in and said, "I'm sorry, you better get your affairs in order." And I said, "Is that what the doctor said?" "Yeah." And the very next day, we had a gig somewhere, and I ran into this woman who told me the exact same story about her husband, Ross. She said, "We went and saw the doctor, and the doctor said to Ross, 'I'm sorry, you have to get your affairs in order.'" So I've written a song. It's a very emotional song. In fact, it's a very, very emotional song. I sometimes struggle singing it, but it's a really beautiful song. And it's about, in life. And I've asked a couple of songwriters, are there some songs that are too sad to sing about? But as a singer-songwriter, Russell, you do bear your heart and your soul. You bear your happiest moments, but you also talk about your darkest moments and your darkest experiences. And I know them from being a forensic crime scene detective. So this song, Get Your Affairs in Order, even though it's a very sad, sort of, emotive song, I think it was an important song to write. So, the album has a lot of fun on it. There's a song I wrote called On the Run, which straight out sounds like a jazz song. It's about my time at Witness Security and people on the Witness Protection Program. And, you can, when we play it, we have footage of black and white old 1920 cars with machine guns and car chases, because that's what the song, it's called On the Run, and it's just like this Charleston type feel. So a lot of people say to me, none of your songs are the same. Like they're all different. And I really take that as a badge of honor, that even though the country genre, it's quite wide, it's a very wide genre. And I think that's really cool. So what I do, yes, I have a foundation of country music. Even though my dad was Dixieland jazz, my mum loved country music. So you always go with your mum probably. But I actually call myself a singer-songwriter. And there are elements of country, obviously a strong foundation of country, but there's elements of jazz, of rock, of blues, of folk, and I think that's great. And we try to stay in our own lane. I don't want to be anyone else but Kevin Sullivan. And that's what I'm doing, Russell. I'm being me.
Let me ask you this. That's a great point. I love this interview and I love this storytelling and everything. I just love what you're sharing with our listeners right now. But let's talk about country music right now. So the way country music is as of today, as you and I are doing this interview today, compared to back in the day, what are your thoughts about country music? I mean, you got Beyonce, you've got Post Malone, you've got all these mega pop stars. For some reason, are no longer comfortable in the pop scene, and now they're making their way over to country music. I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very important question. And look, I love country music. I go to country music festivals. This is where I see it sort of impinges a little bit. I see country music festivals, and in Australia, I don't know if they do it in the States, they probably do. They're bringing sort of rock and roll artists in. And look, I love pop and I love all sorts of music. And I encourage my children to chase their musical sort of, passion, whatever it is, and they love all our music, but they have their own musical taste and style too. But in Australia, a lot of festivals, country music festivals, you see them bringing pop singers in and rock and roll. And I love the artists and I love some of the artists they bring, but I think, it's such a challenging industry. There's not enough work for country artists. And a lot of these rock festivals and pop festivals, they don't bring country artists in. I question why we do that. In terms of the Beyoncés, I mean, I like some of her songs. And I say to my children, I don't like knocking anyone who writes music. I think if you want to write music, that's fine. And I do find it interesting that a lot of these pop stars, rock stars are coming into country music. I question why. I sort of know why, because country music is on the steepest trajectory of all music, and all these other artists are going, hey, I want a piece of that. You know, do I judge them for that? I do think it makes it a bit difficult for pure country artists, but I don't know. I think the country music genre is so wide now. I mean, I listen to some music and think, what's that? What genre is that? And people say, oh, it's country music, or it's alt country, or it's this country, or it's rock, or it's traditional country. Or I think, wow, like, sometimes you don't know what you're listening to. And some of my songs also, like I've mentioned before, they cross a couple of boundaries. I've got a lot of brass influence. Now, you can still hear the foundation of country, I think, in all of my songs. But, yeah, I do think it's interesting. I think a lot of stuff like the Beyoncés and, the Post Malones, and we've got a lot of artists out here who are coming into the country scene. I think a lot of it is record company driven. I mean, don't start me on the whole digital streaming. It's just a killer for artists. And I talk about it at my shows because we try to encourage people to buy our merchandise from us, because I say to people, I write music, I own the lyrics, I own the music, I own the intellectual property. And you know what I have to do? I have to give it free to Mr. and Mrs. Spotify, or Mr. and Mrs. Apple Music, or Mr. and Mrs. Google, or Deezer, or all these digital platforms. I have to give it to them for free. Am I crazy, Russell?
Yeah, that's gonna be my next question too. I mean,
crazy. And I say to people, I have to give them my music that I've written. It's cost me $1,000 to pay musicians. And like I said, I've recorded in Nashville. I pay musicians over there who, I might add, are amazing musicians. And then I say to people, what do you think Spotify pay me when you stream my song once? And people say, oh, $1, $2, 50 cents. I say, if they were paying me $1, $2, we'd be having this conversation and I'd be living in the Bahamas. They pay me 0.00, I think it's 6 of a cent. Sometimes it's as low as 0.001. Now that's madness and that's wrong. So all these artists coming in and I say to people, it's all right if you're Taylor Swift, and I've seen Taylor Swift live. I saw her in Nashville at the Nashville Country Music Festival back in 2013, and she was amazing. But a lot of the crowd weren't happy. And I said to some people sitting next to me in Nashville, what are you upset with Taylor for? And they said, because we gave her start and now she's pop. I said, well, but she's still a good musician. Yeah, but she should have stayed with us. And look, I won't get into that, but it's all right if you're Taylor Swift and you're having 1 billion streams. But if you're an independent artist like me, we make nothing. I can't even afford a cup of coffee from what Spotify pay me. So we encourage people to buy our CDs from us, to buy our T-shirts, to buy our hats, our stickers. We've even got bags. We sell a lot of merch. But, it is crazy. It is crazy. I don't know.
Let me ask you this, though. I'm going to put you as the CEO of the music industry right now. You're the CEO today on the Music Dreams USA Radio Artist Spotlight Show, being brought to you again by Blue Shamrock Music and Mr. Stephen Brady. So you're the CEO. How do we make that better? How do we make it fair for all the artists to make money? Which I'm hearing you loud and clear, and I'm definitely on board with you, right? I mean, you're putting the music together. You wrote the music. It's your talent, and you have a right to get paid for that. But as you're saying, a lot of these major companies are just giving you pennies on the dollar for all your talent. How do we fix that?
Look, I often say to people, why is it that someone like me can come up with a great suggestion and yet these CEOs can't? If I was a CEO of running all this stuff, for starters, I would pay the artists and the musicians more than the 0.001 or 0.006 of a cent. How do you do that? I don't know. Maybe if I want to listen to Kevin Sullivan music, I can listen to one of his songs. If I then listen to his songs a second or third time, well, the rate that I get paid goes up exponentially, like 400%. You don't pay me 0.001. You pay me maybe 1 cent a stream or 5 cents a stream. There's a lot of things you could do. I think the payment to the artists, and it's so wide. Like I said, the major artists like the Taylors and the Post Malones and all these big artists who are getting billions of streams, and good luck to them. Well done. But us independent artists, us artists, down the food chain, we're working just as hard, and sometimes I would suggest a lot harder than them, and we're doing it all ourselves, my wife, our kids. So there's just got to be, I don't know, there's got to be some sort of more fairness as to what they're paying us. This is what we do for a living. I don't know what the quick fix, the most basic is we have to get paid more. The streaming platforms make billions, and I'm talking billions and maybe even trillions, and they really pay us a pittance. They pay us nothing. So there's a real disparity in the artists who are creating intellectual property and what we get paid. It is a joke. It's beyond a joke. So they say most artists, earn as little as 50, 60,000 Australian, which is probably 30,000 US dollars, and it's just not right. So I don't know. I don't know what the quick fix. I don't know what the quick fix is, but something has to be done. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Just hearing what you're saying, they're making billions, even trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
And then the artists who are making them make all that money is only getting a little bit of, and they're getting a bigger of a profit. And they don't even put the music or the talent together. They're just feeding off of what you do. And then they're filling their pockets with millions and billions of dollars, and they give you like chicken feed. That's why I'm if you've heard my shows before, right? I'm sure you've heard me ask this question before.
Yeah, you have.
And,
You have.
And the cool thing about the reason why I asked that question is get different perspectives from the artist. Where are you coming from? We can think about this. How can we get it fixed? Because our show is worldwide. We have a lot of people who watch our show, and you never know who's watching the show. We can have like a VIP. We can have a VP listening right now to our show, and it wouldn't surprise me if we do. And maybe it's just it's time to talk. Maybe time to to voice our opinions, and maybe someone listens to those opinions and say, hey, right, that artist has got a point there. Maybe we need to take a step back and see.
We're all saying the same thing, Russell. All us artists say the same thing. And it's a real catch-22. Part of me doesn't even like these streaming platforms, right? But the catch-22 is you have to have your music on there. Part of me just doesn't want to have anything to do with them at times because they don't really do anything for me. My music's there. They'll say, oh, yeah, we're showcasing your music. Yeah, well, you are, but I have to give it to you. And then you don't give me virtually anything in return. They say, well, if you had more listeners, if more listeners listen to you, it's 0.006 of a cent. I'd need 1 million listeners to basically, buy a coffee. It's ridiculous. So you have to be part of it, but we are part of it very, very reluctantly. So yeah, and I think artists all around the world. Well, I hear artists on social media all around the world who say exactly what we're talking about. That it's simply not right. But it's really hard to battle these major corporations, and they're a big machine. And look, we're all trying and we're all voicing, our opinion and what changes. But let's hope they listen. Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. Let's talk about Blue Shamrock Music, okay? That's a record label that helps artists just like you, to help you to distribute your music. Talk to me about Blue Shamrock Music. How did that relationship begin, and what do you think about what Stephen Brady is doing right now?
It's a really important question, and I didn't see this question coming either, but I'm glad you asked it. Look, we've been doing this. I've been a full-time musician sort of 6-8 years now. We've worked with lots of people. Different people have different styles. When I was releasing my album Three Ways, there it is again, shameless plug. When I was releasing Three Ways, I'd been looking at other artists, and like I said, we work with a lot of people, and a lot of them have done some great things. I was watching Blue Shamrock and Stephen, and I thought, wow, the reach he gets, what Stephen and Blue Shamrock Music does for artists. And I said to my wife, we've got this is our album. This is my second album. We're going to go with, a couple of options, but we're going to start with Blue Shamrock and Stephen. He's been outstanding. And I've sent him, he'll tell you, I've sent him so many messages, like, I see what he's done, the connections, including people, amazing people like you, Russell. And I've said, thank you so much. We're so blessed that we're working with you. We're so humbled that you're working with us. And he follows up. Like he seems to be working 24 hours a day. And look, we've got an amazing publicist who we work with. And Stuart, our publicist, is just like the best. But you need someone like Blue Shamrock Music and Stephen to do a lot of the other stuff that, to really get us out there and introduce us to other people. So, we get a lot of guidance from Stuart, our publicist, who's also become like a friend of ours. But Stephen is just amazing. And, I said to Belinda, how did we ever survive without going with Blue Shamrock Music? Because I released an album a couple of years ago, Belonging, my first album. And I said to Belinda, if only we knew then what we know now. Like Stephen he's been a game changer for us, Russell. He really has. He's been
Awesome.
And I sincerely mean that, He's just
he and I we
got
built
his finger on the pulse the whole time. So, we love him. We love him.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I'm glad
Stephen.
you say that because he and I built this show together. I'll give you some fun facts about our show. Our show just turned 3 years old, by the way. And when we started, no one knew who we were. No one knew who we were. What is Music Dreams USA Radio Artist Spotlight Show? What is that? What do you guys do? Who are you? And 3 years later, people know who we are now. I mean, we're known in the music industry. There's no question about it. And Steve and I have the same vision. But I'm leading to this question for you. What do you think about the relationship between Australian artists and the United States artist? Is there a gap there?
Look, I mean, we're all musicians. We're all chasing our passion and our heart and soul. In Australia, it is hard competing with American artists. Australia, because the American country artists are so big, the Luke Combs and the Jason Aldeans and sad Toby Keith, who just passed away, and the Alan Jacksons, and all these amazing artists. It's hard to compete with them because their profile and the whole machine is so big. When we do shows, I mean, I sing obviously a lot of my original songs, but I slip in a Luke Combs song, then I slip in a Toby Keith song, and everyone knows the words. So, I mean, a lot of people in the Australian country scene over the years have had a bit of a go at Keith Urban, even though he was born in New Zealand. He lived here in Australia. So a lot of people say, oh, look, he's gone to America. Why wouldn't he? America is the Mecca for most things in the world, but it's certainly the Mecca for country music. And I've played there. I've recorded there. We've even contemplated living there. I mean, there is a bit of a disparity. I don't know, because we have a joke here in Australia that everything is bigger and better in America. And we've traveled in America, and everything you guys have, from your coffee to everything. It's just bigger and it seems a lot better. So I don't know, but Australian country artists, we are getting very known in the States. I mean, everyone knows Keith Urban. There's a lot of great country artists who travel over there. And so I don't know. I think we're all in the same boat. And like you said, with your show, people said you didn't know who you were. We all get that. I used to get that. I still get it every now and then from a random fan who said, Kevin, I've never heard from you. And you know what I say to them, Russell? Well, you've heard of me now. And they say, yep. So look, it's one fan at a time. That's what we do. Would I like to be, as big as the Keith Urbans and the Luke Combs? And yeah, damn straight I would. Am I going to get there? I hope. But if I don't, how do I gauge success? For me, success is living my dream. I'm there. And my wife, who's a really positive, glass half full person, she says, you've got to be careful, Kev, in how you gauge success. Is success money? Is success number one on the chart? Or is success doing something you dreamed of doing for years when you drove that pickup truck with your dog Mary in the back and you dreamed of living the life of a full-time musician? I'm there. I'm happy. And with the grace of God, I'll keep doing it for a long, long time.
That's awesome, man. You know, another thing that you can hang your hat on, you got the #1 song for 2 weeks in a row. And look who's underneath you. You got some of the mega stars underneath you right now because you're #1 right now for 2 weeks in a row. I mean, that alone should show you that you have arrived. You're living your dream. You're doing what you always wanted to do. No one can ever, I mean, no one can ever take that away from you. They can never take that away. No matter what, if your music journey ends tomorrow, right? And God forbid it never does. But if it were, you can also look back and say, you know what? I was #1 in the entire country for 2 weeks in a row.
Yep.
And no one can ever take that away from you. I tip my hat for you. I mean, that's why we love doing this show. Each week we have an amazing artist, right? And they tell their amazing stories. And I have really and truly enjoyed this interview. This has been one of the, I mean, this has just been a very memorable interview for us. And, you know, we can't thank you enough for taking time out. I know, you know, earlier in the show, you know, we're busy at the rail station, all that, had a crazy day. But I'm so glad, and talk about God, right? God brought us together to do this interview because it was just one of those days. It's like, you know, it was just one of those days. But I mean, I can't thank you enough for all that you do for music and your love and your passion and telling us the stories and everything. I mean, absolutely amazing. And this will be an interview that I will never, ever forget. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I will never forget this interview. And I want to thank you for allowing me to be a part of this.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. And I mean, as an independent artist, I mean, you know, we're up against the record industry and the machine. And I'm very proud to be #1 for 2 weeks. Tomorrow morning, just so that you know, the Sullivans, Kevin Sullivan and Sullivans, we're back in the car. We're back in the van. We're driving for 2 days to do a show on you know, a couple, like 2 days away. And then we're going to drive back and the kids are all back in school. So that's what we're doing. Tomorrow morning, we're back on the road again, and we'll be listening to you. We'll be listening to this recording of this too. But thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and for Stephen and Blue Shamrock Music for putting this together. And we'll talk again. Thanks so much. Hope to have a coffee and shake your hand when we come to the States again.
You got to come and see us, okay? You promise?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll play live for you where you are. That'll be great.
Oh, that'd be cool. And do you have any final thoughts on I mean, as the interview winds down right now, do you have any final thoughts you want to share with our listeners right now or watching now that we'll be watching later?
Absolutely. I've had a great interview with my friend Russell Kay. Kevin Sullivan is my name. I play with my family band, the Sully Vans. Please, I know you probably put this up, Russell, but our website is kevinsullivanmusic.com. We're on Facebook and Instagram. We're on YouTube. I've made a whole range of music videos for so many of my songs, Kevin Sullivan Music. Please support all artists, but support independent artists because we're just getting really great music out there. And I just want to thank you, Russell, again for having me on. And please grab a copy of my new album, 3 Ways. It's out on CD, USB, and vinyl. A lot of people say vinyl's coming back, Russell. I say it never left. It never left, Russell. It never left. And inside there's the lyrics, and you can sing along. We give you an autographed copy of the back of it. We sell T-shirts and hats. We even sell denim bags and stickers. KevinSullivanMusic.com. Thanks so much for having me, Russell. It's been a really, really special interview. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, sir.
Well, before we let you go, we want to meet your family. You're telling me about your family. Are they around?
Linda, get them up quickly. Bring them up. We want them down. Upstairs. Get them up here. Let's go. It's hard.
I want to meet your family. Our listeners want to meet your family.
We have a saying over here, trying to get these children together is like herding cats. It's really hard to herd cats. That's what these kids are like. You're about to meet them. Here they come. Let's go, Sullivans. Quickly, we're talking to America. Get up here. Times. Let's go. This is Russell K. Okay, introduce yourselves. Here we go.
G'day, Russell. I'm KJ.
Hey, KJ.
Stay together. This is Cha Cha.
Hi, Russell. I'm Jet.
Okay, and we are the Sullivans.
Oh,
We're going to give you a little bit of a song for my first album. It's called Outback Australia. And guess where I wrote it, Russell? I wrote it in Outback Australia. Ready? I'm going Outback Australia. I'm going Outback Australia. With friends, they will shake your hand. They'll always say g'day. They'll wave as you pass them through. They'll help in every way. But most of all, they'll welcome you. And one day you will say, I'm going Outback Australia. See you there.
Oh, woo!
Over Russell, you guys.
Encore. We want an encore.
There we go. God, you're
What
lucky
about
to get
your
them
lovely
there.
wife? We got to meet your wife now. Where's she at?
Belinda, where are you? Come and say good day to Russell. Quickly, get up here. Now, Russell, you're about to meet the CEO of all things Kevin Sullivan and the Sullivans. Belinda,
Hey, do me a favor. Kevin,
Here she
Kevin.
comes.
do me a favor, Kevin. Do not tell her I said McConnell.
All right. No, here she is. This is
I heard you.
Have you met Belinda Sullivan here? Russell, here she is.
Hi, Russell.
It's so nice to meet you. You're
She's the-
live on the air right now, by the way. No,
She's
no
the big boss.
pressure. There's no pressure, but you're live on the air right now.
We love it.
I forgot to tell Kevin, I forgot to tell your husband, right? When you come to a Music Dreams USA Radio Artist Spotlight show, expect the unexpected.
This
It's
woman
so
is
nice
the
to
brains.
meet you.
She's the brains behind everything we do. So I thank God every day for Belinda. She is the true love of my life. I also reminded Russell how lucky she is as well. But anyway, my friends say, "What are you talking about? You're the lucky one, not her." But anyway, we're a good team, and we have a lot of faith, and we're in God's hands, aren't we, love?
We are. Yeah, we are. Have an
Well,
amazing journey.
definitely.
Thanks for having us on the show, and hi to everyone.
We're so excited to have you on the show, and much success as you move forward in your amazing journey. And thank you for making music great and all that you do. All the sacrifice and everything, and that's the love of the music industry, right? Sometimes you have to go the extra mile. You guys are going the extra mile and then some. So
Yeah.
and
We're doing extra mile tomorrow
we're also
morning,
here for you too.
Yeah.
We're gonna get you on the radio, by the way. We're gonna get you guys to do a radio show on Music Dreams USA Radio. We're gonna get you on a radio station.
That'd be great.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome. Actually, we were on the TV yesterday morning on the morning show, and I said to the host, I said, we need a record contract from a recording, a big record industry. And one of the hosts, the female host, Kylie, she said, Kevin, you don't need a record contract. You need your own TV show. That's what you guys need. So maybe she's right.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
We're just doing our thing.
All right. Well, again, thank you for your time, and safe travels as you go to your next journey there. And we'll be praying for you. And with Music Dreams USA Radio and Blue Shamrock Music, you're also gonna have a home with us. And if there's anything we could do for you, seriously, you let us know. We'll make it happen. And we're gonna have you back on the show. I promise.
Thank you, Russell. Thank you very much. Have a great day. See ya.
You too. Take care, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
See ya.
All right. And what an amazing interview
Thanks so
that
much,
was.
Russell. Now, so do you want us to send you some merch for some giveaways?